talk me through a little bit about your brand.
Yeah,
and kind
absolutely.
of what it is you want when people see this and they see, hey, Brent Yonk, and what is it the message you have for people and what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, throughout my time, both in private sector and in the public sector, one of the challenges that I have recognized that it spans the breadth of pretty much every organization is I think that we kind of have a, what's the right way to, kind of tunnel vision when it comes to concepts like leadership.
Yeah.
And so for most people, when you talk about leadership, you almost always start to think of people in management roles, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we're talking about leadership. Oh, we're talking about some bigwig, right? Some executive, somebody who's leading a team of people and making decisions like that. What we don't often do is we don't correlate leadership with what I'm doing, right? With your role, where you are right now. And so my big thing that I try to focus on helping people understand is leadership is it's not a title, and it's not a role-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is absolutely a behavioral-based thing. It's something you get to choose to do regardless of what role you're in. And so my focus is on helping people really understand what leadership means, and then understand how can I start to apply that regardless of where I'm at in my professional career. And even further than that, I'm also trying to help people branch out and see that leadership is not limited to the professional realm. Leadership is a lifestyle skill. It's something that it cascades across every element of your life. And so as you're learning how to apply different types of leadership abilities in your work, like you can take those same skills and abilities back to your home, and you can use them to benefit your children, your family, and your community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that's one of the core focuses I have, is helping people recognize that you can absolutely be a leader no matter what position you're in. You can be a leader in every element and aspect of your life. And it just takes you kind of broadening your perspective and starting to have that self-awareness and that recognition that you can apply it there.
Real quick, is this something that was festering with you in the private sector, or has it really taken more shape just since coming to the Bureau?
Yeah, no, it was pre-Bureau as well. I was actually really excited joining the Bureau because the Bureau is known as the premier law enforcement agency in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the outside perception of that was like, oh man, these guys, they must have like the secret sauce. They must have the killer recipe on how to develop leaders. And while there are elements of that in the Bureau, it's certainly not a foregone conclusion that you're going to come into the FBI and you're just going to turn into a rock star leader.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've also been very focused on trying to help the FBI with. But no, I mean, my first real job, I was working for a company called Quest Communications.
Yeah.
They were required by Charter, or not Charter, they were required by CenturyLink. And when I was working there, there was a guy that was on my same team. We were both sales reps, and he had been there longer than I had. And there was a supervisor job that was coming open. And, when it came open, you could tell like he was just really soured against it. He was like, oh, I don't want to become a supervisor. Like you start having to play politics. And then he just started talking about leadership in that same, like, oh, leadership it's just this soft stuff. It's all like snake oil and like that type of sentiment. And I was like, okay, clearly there's some issues here. We should probably talk a little bit more about this. But I started to see like people's perception of this was really impacting their decision making, and it was really impacting the way that they like made choices in their careers. And so I wanted to try to do what I could to kind of provide some clarity to like, what is that leadership, and what does it mean, and what are those behaviors that are associated with it? Now, in the Bureau, one of the things that I have learned that is another issue that kind of falls very similar to this is there's a real a real difference between leadership and management.
Yeah. And
I don't think most organizations really do a good job of separating those two and being clear on those differences. And so Simon Sinek, he had a great saying where he would say, I know a lot of leaders, or I think he said, I know there's a lot of people with authority, people in positions of authority who are not leaders.
Sure.
And I know a lot of people who are not in positions of authority who are absolutely leaders. And that's 100% right. it helps you understand and distinguish the difference there, which is you can absolutely be in a supervisory or a management role. You can have people who report to you, and you can absolutely not be an effective leader.
Yep.
We would hope that you are, but if you have not spent the time and put in the effort, and frankly, if the organizations that you've worked for haven't given you the resources to develop it, you may be a really poor leader, even though you're in this management role.
Yeah.